All right, you guys. So today, as you could tell, I'm not in class. I had to go to a doctor's appointment. But anyhow, we're still learning. So first and foremost, welcome back to fourth quarter. You're almost at the end of the school year. So I'm hoping that this quarter we are extremely successful and end in a positive note. With that said, a couple of key notes. I did write things down so I know what I wanted to say. So we're going to start off with Unit 6. Unit 6 is about positive and negative numbers. And today's lesson, which is Lesson 23, Section 1, is just introducing positive and negative numbers. Now, I do realize that some of you guys, you're like, Miss Saenz, I know this already. It's just a quick preview, a quick refresher, because we are going to quickly move on to more things that has to do with positive and negative numbers, using the number line and plotting other numbers than just basic whole numbers. So we do have to do this quick preview. All right, so the objective for today is to be able to locate positive and negative numbers, including the number 0, both on a horizontal number line and a vertical number line, and also to use the number lines to help describe real-world problems. Your sub would have given you 2 resource papers that I want you to keep inside your clear sleeve. Some of you guys will find this very useful today. Others, you're like, oh, I don't really need it at this moment. But whatever the case may be, I still want you to have this as your resources for any lessons that we encounter. So the first resource paper that you're going to have is a horizontal number line. You will notice that on one side of the horizontal number line, it's labeled for you, showing positive and negative numbers. And the other side is blank. This is if you encounter any math problems that you want to fill out the number line, because we might be dealing with numbers that go by 5, 10s, 100s, right? So you have your own blank one. You're also going to get a vertical number line. So this vertical number line will tell you which way is positive, which way is negative. It will also, set up the numbers for you. And then you have a blank side. Again, depending on which math problem you're working on, you might need to create your own. But you have an example, and then you have one that's a blank one. Okay. So we're going to be doing that. Let me fix this real quick to ensure that everyone can hear me clearly. Okay. Before we start the actual lesson, I want to go over Google Classroom, because I've updated Google Classroom to support our learning for not only this unit, but for this lesson. So the first thing you'll see in Google Classroom is, the topic. Okay, so we are starting off quarter 4, week 29. Now, you're not going to see all of these posted on there. It's going to be released on specific dates and time. That's just the teacher's version of it. So here you have the family letter. If you click on that, as always, it brings up what we're going to be learning in lesson 23. Gives vocabs, it gives examples. So again, if your parents are wondering what you were working on, and if you're also wonder what we're working on, or go to a quick guide on, okay, what vocab words are we looking at, what examples do we have, this is a great location for that. The areas that you are going to be working on today is, here's an anchor chart. Now this anchor chart has all the anchors for Unit 6, but we're going to be focusing on this first one, positive and negative numbers. So that is there for you. Let's see, how do I go out? There we go. But mainly today, you're going to be focusing on these two, Lesson 23 resource and Lesson 23 classify real numbers. 23 resource has a bunch of information for you. You have the digital copy of both sets of number lines. There is a digital copy of the vertical and a digital copy of the horizontal number lines for you to use. There's a couple of videos that I've also posted here. One video is just simply talking about negative and positive numbers on a number line. That's about 8 minutes. So if you're a student who like, I've heard of it, I haven't heard of it, or it's been a while, I encourage you to, at some point today, either right before we start lesson 23 or after lesson 23, session 1, to look at that video. Also, you can always use that video when we need to test. Which reminds me, lesson 23 is a very short lesson. It only has 3 sessions. So today, Wednesday, you're doing session 1. Tomorrow, Thursday, when I come back, session 2, and then Friday, and then Monday, because there's no school, there's no math on Friday. When I see you back again on Monday, there's going to be session 3, and we are also going to have the refine and quiz that day. So definitely a good way to go back and review. You're also going to watch this video on classifying real numbers. I'll get to that when I need to. Other resources are keywords to identify if a sentence has a positive integer or negative integers. These are the rules. So some of you guys might be will be using the rules of when to know if I had to add or subtract, multiply, and divide integers. We're not going to go so much into this part just yet, but we will dive into that down the road. Okay. All right, so that's really all the information that I wanted to give you for Google Classroom. The other part is you do have an assignment that you're going to be getting to towards the end of the block, and if you for some reason don't get to that part of the assignment, then it will be for homework. But you're going to go to lesson 23, classifying real numbers. You are going to watch this YouTube video, and then you're going to use that YouTube video.
We all live in a world of numbers.
Sorry. We're going to use this YouTube video along with this worksheet that your sub should be handing to you. After you watch the video, or along with the video, you're going to read this informational text. I know it looks a lot. What I really want you to focus is on this diagram and this part right here. This part has the name of each category, a definition for each category, and an example of each category along with the visualization. Once you have watched the video, you read this, I want you then to attempt to fill out this graphic organizer. Now, I don't want you to cut these out, because if you cut this out, you're cutting part of the front side. Just write in based on the category and what numbers satisfy each category. I'll go more in depth into that in a little bit, okay? So, let's exit that out. Let's go ahead. By this time, you should already have your math book with you. You can open up your math book to page 543 and 544. It's only 2 pages that we're working out of this math book. And yes, you're going to be completing every single one of these problems. There's no skipping anything. So those 2 pages, but it's not a lot. I think within 10-15 minutes, some of you guys might finish a little bit earlier. That's that. Okay, let's go straight into lesson 23. Now, I want you to read along with me or follow along as I read the learning targets. So in lesson 23, we're going to understand the meaning of positive and negative numbers. We're going to find the opposite of a number and plot both the positive and negative numbers on a number line. And we're going to use the positive and negative numbers to represent real world quantities, okay? So we're going to be doing that in lesson 23. Okay. What I want you to do is take a moment, just 30 seconds, to yourself and ask, how are these the same and how are these different? And also ask yourself, would I want to earn $6? Would I want to spend $6? Would I want to earn $3? Would I want to spend $3? Now, again, with this whole same and difference, there's no right on answer as long as your explanation is justifiable. It makes sense, right? Don't just say random things. But as you're also reading this, I want you to think about keywords like the word earn and spend. Would you classify that as a positive number or a negative number? Okay? All right. So take 30 seconds. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm not going to be giving you the answer. I'm still going to be acting like I'm supporting you in class, where I will pause give you guys a certain amount of time to go ahead and ask the questions. So I'm gonna pause for about 30 seconds. I want you guys to think about this and then move on, okay? Okay, I think that's enough time. Before I move on, this is going to be just a 30-minute session. And I have asked the sub to place a timer for 30 minutes. So if some of you guys, like I said, might go through this whole thing within 10 minutes, some of you guys might be cutting it close to 30 minutes. What I don't want is that no one, and I will repeat myself, no one should leave this classroom without completing those 2 pages, because there's truly no reason why anyone would walk out of this classroom without incomplete pages. So tomorrow when I come back to school, I will be looking through and making sure that you completed those 2 pages. If it is incomplete, I will pull you to the side and ask you why, and I'll put you in a small group during iReady time, and then you'll be working on there, and then a phone call home will be made telling parents that, hey, your student did not take advantage and therefore had to be pulled to finish this. So again, please follow along, and you should be able to complete these 2 pages within 30 minutes. All right, let's move on. Okay, now there's some things that I'm gonna skip, and there's some things that I might just briefly go over. So let's do it. Connect to the culture. It says in many cities and neighborhoods, sidewalks are along almost every street. Sidewalks bring up important issues in government, such as who pays for a sidewalk, which places must have sidewalks, and which can't go without sidewalks. Now, we're not going to talk about this as why are sidewalks beneficial, because we're not in a whole group setting like we normally do. But what I want you to do before you move on is I want you to take a look at this, analyze this image you see on the screen, and do your notice and wonders. When you do your notice and wonder, I also want you to take a picture and say, okay, I realize that this is maybe a Google map. I want you to see how many people are involved. I want you to see the direction that each person is walking, how far apart from the drop-off, and also maybe the name of the street, because all of this is going to come in handy when we actually start working on the problem, okay? So take about 10 seconds and do a quick notice and wonder. All right, let's move on. Okay. Again, follow along as I read. It says, Jabari and Sophia get off the bus at 7th Street bus stop. Jabari walks 3 blocks to the right, and Sophia walks 3 blocks to the left. So if we notice, yes, we could see that this must be, this whole street right here is 7th Street. The drop-off point is where the bus stop is at. And indeed, we can see that Jabbar is walking to the right, as Sophia is walking to the left. And if you notice, each of these is a block. So Jabbar walks 3 blocks to the right, Sophia walks 3 blocks to the left. Okay, then we go, it says, think of the bus stop as 0 on the number line. Jabari ends up 3 units to the right of 0. Draw tick marks, arrows, and a point on the number line to show where Sophia ends up. So again, if we take a look at here, they're telling us that the bus stop, if we were to compare it to a number line, it's at 0, right? Just like this 0 right here, and they already identified it as the bus stop. They did us the favor and they marked the number line for us from 0 to 5. They put tag marks, and then they plotted where Jabari was, because again, Jabari walked 3 blocks to the right. So therefore, we have 3 blocks to the right. And then they put down a point, and then they labeled it for Jabari. So your job, and it should take you no more than a minute or two, is to complete the other side of the number line. As you can see, this side of the number line is incomplete. You are to label the left side using the same distance from 0 to 5. And then also plot where Sophia would be. And then don't forget, Sophia is at 3 blocks to the left. Now, if you have a hard time doing the number line, go back, use your resources that I provided. This one right here, okay? And then you can see that once you start writing the numbers to the left of the 0, they need to include the negative sign, which is a minus sign. So don't forget that negative sign, okay? So I'm gonna give you guys about 2 minutes. Go ahead and complete the last side of the number line to indicate where Sophia is at. All right, so I'm gonna speed up the whole 2-minute part, but again, you can pause it, work on it, and then start the video again to move on to the next one. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, now on this, this is still page 543. It just for me is on the next slide, but this is the bottom part of 543. And the bottom part of 543, we're gonna dive into vocab. Okay, so there's a lot of vocabulary in this unit. So to be successful, you do need to know the vocab, the definition, and an example for it, okay? So let's follow along as I read. It states, in problem number 1, Jabbar and Sophia walked in opposite directions from the bus stop. Opposite numbers are the same distance from 0 on the number line, but on opposite sides of the 0. So let's kind of go back and look at that. Yes, we could see that if the bus stop is classified as 0 on the number line, we could indeed tell that Jabari walked 3 blocks to the right, while Sophia walked 3 blocks to the left. So they are going in opposite directions. And because they went the same distance, we could tell that the distance between Jabari and 0 is 3. And it's the same for Sophia, 3. So, in other words, is that you cannot place Sophia on being at 5 blocks away, then it wouldn't be opposite of Jabari, okay, or the opposite distance of Jabari. Okay, let's go here. So I would like you to, as you are reading, I would like you to underline the vocab word, and if there's a sentence that has a definition or you think it's a definition, I want you to do that. So right here we would say, highlight the word opposite, numbers, and again, are the numbers, are the same distance from 0 on the number line, but on the opposite side of 0. So you have your word, you have your definition. Right here for 2A, are numbers on the right of 0, are numbers to the right of 0 on the number line less than or greater than? So again, if you're still having trouble, what you could do, you could look at this number line down here, or go back to the resource paper. But take about 30 seconds to a minute and answer this question. Are the numbers to the right of 0 less than or greater than 0? Okay, take about 30 seconds. All right, that should be enough. For 2B, it says numbers greater than 0 are called positive numbers. Numbers less than 0 are called negative numbers. So let's go ahead and highlight that. So we know that numbers that are greater than 0 are known as positive numbers. And numbers that are less than 0 are called negative numbers. And you know what? Let me redo this as I want to go along with what's down here. So let me go blue for positive numbers and red for negative numbers. Okay, there we go. The number 0 is neither positive or negative. So keep that in mind that 0 is not a positive number, nor it's a negative number. You could call it like it's neutral, right? Doesn't want to pick a side. It's friends with everyone on the team. Okay, this continues. It says, look at the number line. How are negative numbers similar to positive numbers and how they are different? So I want you to take about maybe 2 to 3 minutes at the most, and I want you to write somewhere either underneath this or to the side, and you need to have at least 3 to 4 sentences. I should say 2 to 4 sentences describing how the number line, how negative and positive numbers are similar and how they're negative. Now what I want you to do when you're writing this, I want you to use vocab words that we've already underlined on this page. I want you to use keywords. I do want you to refer to the number line that is on this page. Okay, so you need to have 2 to 4 sentences describing how they are similar and different. Okay? All right. Again, this is where you will pause the video for a quick second, give you time to write those response, and then you're going to start the video back up. All right. Let's move on. Okay, so then you're going to turn the page to 544, and we're going to complete problems 3 to 6. So we are going to do all the pages, all the problems on page 544. They're very quick, simple, easy problems. So if you're like, Miss Saenz, that's too much. No, literally it's going to take you a minute or less to answer almost all the problems. All right, so here we go. It says, you can write a positive number in 2 ways. You can write a positive number by using a plus sign in front of the number, or you can write in the number without a positive sign. So as you can see on this number line, it has positive numbers without the plus sign. But you will see in certain math problems that they do include the plus sign. So what I want you to do is take about 30 seconds to a minute and answer these 2 questions. What does positive 3 mean? So if someone was to come into the classroom, what can you tell them if they're to ask you, hey, what does positive 3 mean? How does it look like? Can you reference a number line to support your answer? And then this one is write 2 ways to write. What are 2 ways to write positive 40? And you can tell this is italic because they're already telling you that that 40 is positive. So kind of go back to what is stated here in the sentence and your definition to write the 2 ways to represent positive 40. All right, take about 30 seconds to a minute, pause it, and start the video again. Okay, I'm going to continue. Okay, for question number 4, it says, to indicate the opposite of a number, you're going to use a negative sign, which is basically a minus sign. For example, negative 2 means the opposite of 2, or negative 2. So again, if you see this, negative 2, that means it's going to be the opposite of positive 2, or if we were to write it in words and not with symbols, we would also say negative 2, okay? So what I want you guys to do, take about a minute or 2 for this one. I want you to use a negative sign to show how a negative 3 looks like. So instead of using the word negative 3, you're going to use a symbol and then 3 to indicate negative 3. For B, negative 3 means the opposite of what? So remember, opposites is like hot to cold, dark to light, nighttime to daytime. You kind of get the drift, right? So what is the opposite of negative 3? This one, okay. We kind of talked about this a little bit. If you go back to Google Classroom And in the resource section of lesson 23, there's a link that's titled Integers Rules, and that talks a bit more about rules about negative positive numbers. So you could go back and review that real quick. If not, just know for right now, and we'll dive deep into this later on. Anytime you have two negatives side by side, anytime you have those two negatives, so here's one negative, here's another negative, it means the opposite of -5. And what is the opposite of -5? Okay, so the opposite of -5 is, okay, so that's basically what they're asking you to do. There is to state what the opposite of -5 is. So when we have two negatives, that is the opposite of -5. Okay? Right. Take about a minute, pause it, and then come back to the video. All right. Oops. This one is still part of problem number 5. It is still on page 544. So connect to the culture. Take a moment and read this. What I want you guys to do is, once you read about what are thermometers, I want you to quick notice and wonder. What do you notice about these thermometers? What some similarities? What are some differences? And we're going to use this diagram to be able to do the next problem, number 5. Okay. Oops. Here it says, on a vertical number line, positive numbers are above 0 and negative numbers are below 0. So if I come back over here, and then what you could also do if you need to, you could label it indicating that numbers above 0 are positive, while numbers below 0 are negative. Now also, you could go back and reference the worksheet or the resource paper that I provided. That also indicates which direction is positive, which direction is negative. Okay? So, and it says a thermometer is like a vertical number line. So vertical just means going up and down. Here, it says complete the scale on each thermometer. So if you can notice, there are some numbers missing on this thermometer, right? So I want you to take a minute or two, and I need you to fill out the numbers. Now I want you to realize that these numbers, or this number line, is going by tens. So you're going to label everything by tens. The other thing I want you to notice is the length of the tally marks. So the longer side, or the longer length I should say, is where you're going to go put the numbers. The smaller length are like the halfway point between like 10 and 20. So if you were to label pink, pink would be at 15, right? But I don't want you to worry about labeling every single little tally mark. I just want you to label the longer tally marks. And as again, if you notice, they're going by 10. So take a minute. I want you to label all of the long tally marks by 10. And I want you to do the same thing for this side. So you're doing it for the left side and the right side. Okay? So once you do A, then it says on a Celsius thermometer, 0 represents a freezing point of water. Does the thermometer on the left show a temperature less than or greater than the freezing point of water? Now we did answer a similar question like this, the page 543. So if you're a little confused, go back to how you answered this question on that page. But again, looking at the thermometer to the left, is this point indicating that is greater than 0 or less than 0? And then the second part to this question is, if the, for C, I should say, does the thermometer on the right show the temperature is less than 0 or greater than 0? Okay? So that should take about 10-20 seconds to answer. Finally, it states, why do 20 degrees Celsius and negative 20 degrees Celsius represent opposite temperatures? So again, it should be 2 to 4 sentences to answer this question. Use what you already know from previous learning experience, what you're learning now. Use the resources, the vocab to answer this question. So again, use vocab, use key terms, reference the example, and any resources that you were provided today to answer this question. Once again, it has to be 2 to 4 sentences. So pause the video and then move on. Okay. All right, the last one. This is your exit ticket. We're at already 35 minutes. We're at 30 minutes. Okay, so we should be done within 35 minutes of today, and everyone should be able to put their books away once they're done, answer the exit question. So the exit question says, is negative 25 a positive or negative number? So again, if you are don't remember, use your resources, use your workbook to help you support answering that question. After they answer, after you state if it's positive or negative, you're going to tell me the opposite of negative 25. How does negative 25 look like? And then explain how do you know. So once again, I'm not here with you physically today, so I could easily come tomorrow and say, hey, so explain to me. How do you know it's what the opposite of negative 25 is? Or if we had a new student or an admin, you get the idea. Need to use your words, need to use keywords, vocabulary, resources to help support your answer, okay? All right, once you're done, and that's it. Once you're done with completing those 2 pages, you watch the videos, then you're gonna quietly put your workbook away. And if your sub has not given you the worksheet, politely ask your sub for the classifying real numbers worksheet, okay? And let me just go back. To go back to our Google Classroom page, you're going to go here where it says classify real numbers, video and graphic organizer. You're going to pull up this video.
We all live in a world of numbers, but just like how there are a lot of types of animals in our world, there are a lot of types of numbers out there as well. So to learn all these, let's travel all the way back to the Egyptians and the Babylonians when they first came up with what we call natural numbers. These are numbers that we use every day, like 1,
Okay,
2,
I'm not going to
3,
play the
4,
whole video.
5, and
There's
so
one
on.
thing I do
These
want
are
to
also
say
known
about
as
this.
counting numbers,
So let me
because we can literally
fast forward.
mathematicians all. That's irrational.
Okay, so this is basically what we're going to be doing. Now, we are able, that we've gone through 6 years of math, we know to identify whole numbers, fractions, decimals, other type of like infinity numbers, numbers that repeat throughout. So you guys get the drift. And we normally classify all that as just being numbers. But some of you guys, this might not be new. For some of you guys, it may be new. Even though we have like counting numbers, whole numbers, we have decimals, fractions, and all that array of stuff, positive, negative numbers, they're all classified differently. So what you're going to find today is that you're going to learn about natural numbers, whole numbers, integers, rational numbers, and irrational numbers. You're going to learn about their definitions, and you're going to learn how to classify them. And then you're going to realize that this whole thing makes up what we call real numbers. So if you look at your diagram that we have here, we see that it starts really small with natural numbers, and as it progresses and as we learn more about numbers, that space gets larger and larger, and under the whole thing, or within the whole thing, we have what's called real numbers. So all of these are classified as real numbers, but depending on how they're being represented is the category that they're going to fall into. Another example that I could provide is, think about that natural numbers is the city you live in. Whole numbers is perhaps the county that you live in. So I live in Lodi. My county is San Joaquin County. I live in the state of California. The state of California is within the country of United States of America. And then my real number, which would be this, would be planet Earth. So we start really small, and as we start expanding, then we could become the whole thing. All right, so we will go more into depth in that. All I want you to do today is watch the video, read the informational text, and really I want you to focus on this part, not so much at the top, but at the bottom. Look at the graphic organizer, because what you're going to do in a moment, oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Not that. You are going to attempt to classify this graphic organizer using the word bank down here. So right here we have 4 categories already. We have whole, natural, rational, and integer. Based on what you've learned already, you're going to name, or you're going to write the category of each section. Then you have a series of numbers. You're only going to use one box per section. You're not going to repeat it throughout. But you're going to basically, let's say, let me do one example for you. Let's say I want to do natural numbers. Okay? And I'm going to select which numbers would be located in that, which one would be classified as natural numbers. So in this case, and just to kind of verify on my end, 12 would be a natural number. So I'll just write it in and cross it out. Please do not cut it, do not paste it, just because if you do cut and paste, you're going to then be cutting part of the informational back part of it, okay? So that should then take 10-15 minutes. So if you didn't get to this part, or you don't finish this in class, then that will be your homework. I do expect this worksheet to be done by tomorrow when you guys come into class, because we're going to be referencing this worksheet tomorrow in class. So I want us to have an idea what we're talking about, because again, we're moving on fast. We have a test or a quiz on Monday, and then I'll see you Friday. Okay. Yeah, hopefully. And then if you're done with everything, you're done with your pathways for today. You're done with lesson 23, session 1. You're finished with this worksheet, and you're like, Miss Saenz, there's still time. What else do I do? Your other options are to either continue with your pathways, especially for students who are behind, or you could choose an iReady game. You may not go to any other website. Okay, I will be monitoring your guys' monitors from wherever I'm going to be at by going on Go Guardian. So I will be checking in, okay? Remember classroom expectations, follow directions, rules, stay on task, complete your work, be respectful to each other, especially the sub. They are here to replace me for the day. Behave, be respectful, maintain my classroom clean and organized. They did vacuum clean the floors. So the way you guys come into classroom today is the way you guys need to leave it, because that's how I should be coming in on Thursday. Positive feedback from the sub equals reward, and anyone's names highlighted or listed will then receive a detention, phone call home, and a visit to the office. And then don't forget, there's no math class on Friday. I do have office hours this coming Monday for iReady support or anyone that would like to make up a quiz and test. And finally, don't forget to study. Okay, all right, bye you guys.